I County Meath nordvest for Dublin ligger byen Slane. Her finder man det legendariske slot Slane Castle, hvor 8. og 9. generation af Cunningham-familien bor. Stedet er kendt for at afholde rockkoncerter med nogle af verdens største rocknavne, som Rolling Stones og Pearl Jam. Og som noget nyt er Cunningham-familien begyndt at producere deres helt egen whisky. Her på Slane Castle finder man meget af det, som Irland handler om. Gammel historie, god musik og ikke mindst whisky. Men så er det gode gamle spørgsmål jo, hvad er bedst? Skotsk eller irsk whisky? Alex, I've brought this whiskey for you. It's a Scotch whiskey. How do you like it? This?
I don't know. Giving Scotch whiskey to an Irishman is no. It's not an insult. I'll always be thankful of a gift, but maybe I can give you a taste of something a little bit better in return. No, we have our own Irish whiskey here, named after the building Slane Castle. So I can give you a little taste, and and you can see what you think of this one. We launched this actually quite recently, only in 2009, at the Oasis concert, and Noel and Liam Gallagher certainly went through a few bottles of this one when they were here. So if you drink Scotch, you'll notice that most Scotch whisky has a slightly smoky flavour to it, and that's because when they make the malt, which is the germinated barley from which the whisky is made, they put it over a peat fire, and that creates a really heavy smoke. And in Ireland, we don't use the peat, we just use hot, clean air. We've got plenty of that here, and that means that you end up with a whisky that's a little softer on the tongue. So soft and smooth are typically words that you find. So as they say in Ireland, sláinte.
Sláinte.
So you'll find it, it's a little softer, it's got a nice long finish to it, and that's just a nice, and maybe some honey and vanilla tones as well. And that comes from, I guess, soft Irish rain on good wet barley fields.
There's always this kind of battle, or someone prefers Scotch whiskey, someone prefers Irish whiskey. How is the market today? Which
well,
whiskey sells most?
If you look at the global whiskey market, the main types of whiskey are American whiskey, Scotch, Irish, and then you also have Canadian. And then there are some smaller ones like Japanese, and there's the Swedish whiskies, there's Tasmanian whiskies. So more and more whiskies coming onto the market, but the biggest player is definitely Scotch, and that would control about 37% of the global market. And Ireland is actually now currently less than 4%. So we're a small fish in a big pond. But interestingly enough, that wasn't always the case, because if you go back to America, for example, which is now the biggest market in the world for Irish whiskey, prior to Prohibition in America, Irish whiskey actually outsold Scotch, and that was true all over the world. So Irish whiskey was bigger than Scotch about 100 years ago. So we got a long fight now, but we're coming back very strong. So Irish whiskey is growing very fast. People are waking up to the softer, smoother taste of Irish.
So now you're starting doing this concert, and you're not just started it, it's been going on for some time?
Yeah, I mean, trying to keep a place like this going with a big house and an estate is financially quite a challenge. So when my father took over from his father in 1976, my grandfather was the last generation probably to live with staff and butlers and housekeepers and all the rest, and Dad realized that he wasn't going to be able to continue living that way. So we had to find something to boost the income for the place. The first crowd, I think they got about 18,000, but we generally run them every year for 30 years now. That has been the lifeblood to keep this place going, but we always have to think outside the box what we can do to keep it going, and that's what led to us starting the whiskey, for example.
Yeah, how did you start that?
I worked in Irish whiskey years ago, and I recognised that there was a chance for more brands to come onto the market. There's quite a small number of brands. So eventually in 2009, we decided to launch the Slane Castle whiskey, as I said, at the Oasis concert. and my father and my grandfather, who's sadly no longer alive, in terms of actually selecting the final blend that went into it, basically the three of us got together and we had a number of blends put together, and the bottle that had the least in it the next morning was the final blend that we chose. So 3 generations came together to come up with this particular blend.
What are the plans for the Slane Castle whisky?
Well, there are actually today there are only 4 distilleries in Ireland, and we work with a local distillery at the moment. So we're aiming, I hope, to be number 5. So we're actually going to be constructing a distillery here in the stable yards at the castle. So my grandchildren will be able to toast with a glass of stuff made on site, which would be nice.
I mean, yeah, it's a perfectly sitting here with a whiskey, looking at the castle, perhaps listening to rock music.
Absolutely, yeah. As I say, rock and roll and whiskey go pretty well. So I like to drink mine with the Rolling Stones.
Whack ball, there's a whiskey in